Welcome to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. Thank you for taking the time to visit us today. Today we have a very special and very analytical subject matter. We're going to take a look at the new colonization of the children of slavery. Those of us, of course, who have been enslaved for 400 years, but now apparently there is another set of people trying to enslave us again. And we're going to look at that and try to see how we can avoid that second slavery, let's put it that way. I'm going to take a look at the spiritual dynamic, the behind the scenes, and shed some light on that in order to assist wherever is possible. But before I begin, let's give thanks and praise to our Father. Lord, my heart is not haughty, nor my eyes lofty. Neither do I exercise myself in great matters or in things too high for me. Surely I have behaved and quieted myself as a child that is weaned of his mother. My soul is even as a weaned child. Let Israel hope in the Lord, for from henceforth and forever. Amen. So let us again take a look at this new colonization, this concept that is circulating around the children of slavery, the Jacobites. We have spent 400 years in this new Egypt. And 400 years of affliction, turmoil, prejudice, you name it, we've been there. Why would we now open up our hearts again, our souls, our minds, to allow this opportunity, or this negativity, I should say, to present itself and enslave our minds again? So let us then take a look and see what can be done in order to prevent further enslavement. As we prepare for the 7th month of our Israelite New Year, the month of Ethanim, it is customary for us to take a moment to reflect and to analyze the situation at hand, being aware of any faults that we have that could cause us to be weakened. We need to find a way to enhance our atonement for our transgressions, and thereby be reconciled with the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. So we have to know that in the world in which we're living, we are not a part of it. We're in the world, but not of the world. So that makes us, let's say, we enjoy a tremendous blessing from the God of Israel for that opportunity. However, we are still faced with the navigation of a very confusing and deceptive environment. We still have to live in the world, even though we are not of the world. And we have to navigate around all of these deceptions, all of these issues that could create a lot of confusion, not only for the world, but for us. The good thing is we have the opportunity, or we have the privilege, we have the advantage of understanding. So it's called the spirit of discernment. We can see what is good for us and what is not for us. From this perspective, then, we see a world that is ruled by demons. It is void of the truth, then no freedom or peace. A world governed, of course, by the adversary, Satan, and his fallen hellboys. A world of lies and deception, or where lies and deception are dominant. Many people, we see, are being seduced by fame and riches, only to find misery. We cannot allow this to happen to us. We've been there. We've done that. We don't want this to happen the second time. We know that where there is no truth, there is no freedom. And where there is no freedom, there is no peace. So we have to find a solution to this problem and learn from the mistakes that we've made in the past. The confusion in the world, we find, is based on ignorance. It's based on vanity. It's based on even on an inferiority complex. But we cannot allow these things to take advantage of us. We have to find a way to protect ourselves from this world that is of a very confused nature. So regardless of the achievement of the individual, the desire to gain access to our opportunities. In other words, we are the kingdom of God on earth. Everyone, even though they have $1 billion or 10 in the bank, they recognize at some stage that they have not attained all that they can attain. Why? Because the Israelite nation is still there. The Israelite nation is still the servants of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. They cannot cross that threshold without our assistance. And it's not that we are not available. We are here to help. We are not here to criticize. We are here to educate and to assist wherever needed. But you have to recognize your situation first before you can deal with the problem at hand. This failure then leads to philosophical speculation, because you've earned a lot of money. You now have fame and fortune, but you don't have access to the truth. You don't have access to the kingdom of God. And what have people done in the past? They developed their own processes. They developed their own pathway to what they think is the kingdom of God. All that they have done, from our analysis, is developed a new philosophical speculation. And you can call it Christianity. You can call it Judaism. You can call it Islam. You can call it Freemasonry. Call it whatever you want. It has nothing to do with the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, who created the heavens and the earth. So how did people get into that state of mind? What caused them to go away from the Holy Scriptures, to move from the Holy Scriptures into their own understanding? And that is the issue that we have to deal with. There have to be someone behind the scenes who is manipulating you, but you cannot see them. And just because you can't see them, you think they're not there. That gives them even a greater leverage to take control over the world. That's where Satan and the fallen hellboys do their thing. In the state of darkness, it is called deception. And all that we're trying to do is make you aware of this so that you could fight back when it's necessary and do not fall for the tricks. Yes, everybody wants to have some financial independence. Yes, we understand you want to grow and develop, but at what price? What is the cost to you? What is the cost of having so much money in the bank and your soul is still in hell or manipulated by the hellboys? These are the things that you have to recognize. If you look at the old system, for example, the old system of colonization, they used that same satanic agenda to develop a political structure that encompassed the education, encompassed the culture, it encompassed the economic framework, and of course they used violence. That's where you were dragged on board the slave ships and brought to the New Egypt, etc. This new process of colonization is using the same satanic process, the same satanic agenda, but they're not using the same process as the old format. What they're doing this time around, from what I can see in my research, they are messing with your mind. They are engaging in the process of, what should I say? They try to brainwash you. Let's call it what it is. And that brainwashing allows you to think away from the components that would enhance your personal development instead of putting your development in, your primary structure, who you are, what your purpose is, and to whom you serve, they're allowing you to earn and to be, to flex your muscles and show off your vanity to the public. How do they do this? That's the question. How are they able to force you into something that you don't want to get into? Well, there's a thing called recreational drug activity. There's also the opportunity for you to do things that, I don't know how to say this, but it is hard for us to express these things because we did not grow up as children of slavery doing these things. For example, take a tattoo. This is not something that we have ever done publicly or even privately. Take, what should I say? Drugs are something that we never used, only a few. And there's a whole lot of other activities. One I could name, homosexuality. Right. The social media is something in all fairness, we didn't have the social media when I was a boy. All we had, the most we had was television. But the point is, you could use these things for your advancement, but you have to have the spirit of discernment. You have to be able to say, this I can use, that I don't want. You decide what is best for you. Do not allow someone, especially a total stranger, to dictate your behavior. That's number one. And number two, no stranger is allowed to teach you about yourself. These are 2 points that you need to understand and to use as some method to help you to advance your state of development. The failure to do these things lead to more lies and more confusion. So many are misled by the satanic structure that they cannot see. You know, one of the things, for example, I ask people to look at is that black cube. Like, what does it mean? And how does it have a role in our lives? Well, how many people are wearing a cross today? People, children of slavery, they don't know what that cross represents. They think it's just a symbol for, a decoration. But it's not. It's actually, what can I say, witchcraft. That's the best way to explain it. But people don't understand that. Because if you attract death, when it presents itself, you have no way of saying, I don't want you in that mode. It'll show up and it will do what it wants to do with you. Remember, where there is no truth, there is no freedom. And where there is no freedom, there is no peace. So we have to try to set our agenda, first on the precept of truth, second on the precept of peace, and freedom rather, and then peace. Once we understand this format, we will know exactly what is going on in the world, what is best for us, and what is not. How do we get the truth? The truth is only given to the Israelite nation. A lot of people might think, okay, how can you say that without, well, let me give you the evidence. If you turn to the book of John, chapter 14, you will see, if you read from verse 15 to 17, it said, if you love me, keep my commandments, and I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter. So the question begs itself, who is talking and to whom? This is the Christ speaking to the Israelites. And he is saying, if you love me, keep my commandments. What are the commandments? Those are the laws, statutes, and judgments. And I will pray to the Father, and he will give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever, even the Spirit of truth. There it is. But that's not all. Then he adds, whom the world cannot receive. So if the world cannot receive the truth, then what did they get? The lie. And if you did not get the lie, then you got the truth. So, and it is very, very stipulative here. It says that this is a precept that only the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob could control. If you do not have that spirit of truth, then you have to deal with the spirit of the lie. But if you have the truth, you can defend yourself against the lie. That's the point I'm making. And if you can defend yourself against the lie, then when this new colonization comes, you will know exactly what to accept and what to reject. And that's the point right there. So you have the power. This is your weapon. You use it wisely. You don't need to have weapons of war like guns and bullets and bombs and all that. The truth will set you free. But we know that it will hurt you as well. But within that pain, you will learn a lot about yourself. It says, because the world cannot receive the truth, because it seeth him not, neither knoweth him. But you, who are the Israelites, you know him, for he dwelleth with you, and he shall be in you. Therein is the evidence. Therein is the biggest weapon that we have as a family. It is time for us then to gather around, unite around that precept of truth, and build a strong family, defending ourselves against all of those that will come. And from what I've been hearing, this new colonization is not only coming from Europe, it's also coming from Asia. And it doesn't matter where it comes from. They're all the same. One of the things that I've learned a long time ago is that you have a situation where whether it's from China or Russia or the Europe or wherever, they're all belonging to the same Masonic club. If they all practice Freemasonry, then they all have been initiated into a certain way of thinking. That alone is brainwashing. That alone is going to weaken you. And we can say this because we know exactly how the Freemasons came. I'll tell you something, for instance. You ever heard of the Templars? All right. The Templars were sent into our land, our past homeland of Israel. They had two objectives. At that time, the Arabs, the Muslims, were in control of the land of Jerusalem. The Templars were supposed to find the body of Jesus where he was buried, because if they can take that body, they felt they can take power, because Jesus did a number of things that were amazing. And the second thing that they were supposed to do before they can get to the body was to take back the city of Jerusalem from the Muslims. They failed on both counts, right? Yes, they took the city for a temporary moment, and they entered into the temple of Solomon, the residues of that temple, because they were looking for the secrets to the power. That's all it was for them. It was all about power. They wanted to gain that structure so that they can come back and use it against whomever they wanted. They failed on both counts. They did not find the body of Jesus, and they did not find the solution, or to the secrets, I should say, to the power of that the Israelites had when they were in the land. Again, look at the situation here. They recognize, these Europeans, they recognize that we, our ancestors, had access to a supreme power that they did not have. And my question to you then is, how did we get that? And why is it that we allow these people who didn't have that capability to enslave us? Now, we made a mistake the first time. How is it now that we are going to allow them to come a second time and enslave our minds again through brainwashing? Why would we allow that to happen? I'll never forget when people will go to jail if they smoke a few, what do you call that stuff? Marijuana. Yeah. You went to jail for 30 years, right? Today, do you know that the federal government will ship that stuff to you, to your door? You pay for it, and they will ship it to you, like anything else. You can, well, there's several stores now in every street, but and what I'm saying is it's legal now. Now, how is it that it became legal just a few years before our 400 years of enslavement came to an end? How did that happen? My point is this: somebody knows who you are. Somebody knows who your father is. Somebody knows your capability, the power that you have. And they want to make sure that they keep your minds enslaved. Because if your minds are enslaved, then you cannot achieve your objective. So what do? Now they're making marijuana available to you at no charge. Yeah? You can smoke your spliffs day and night. But when you're smoking, you don't have full control over your mental faculties. And by the way, this is what I've done the research. I haven't tried it yet, but you never know. And I've done the research, and this is what I found. But the other thing that is most significant is the spiritual dynamic is impacted. Now you have a demon where before you had maybe the spirit of truth or whatever spirit of righteousness. You see what they've done? They not only affected the mind, they affected the soul, the spirit. The entire body is messed up. And there's nothing you can do because they're giving it to you practically. You see? And once you get hooked to this, You can't get away from it. Now you're a slave again, a different format. In the past, they used the good ship Jesus. Remember that? Remember the good slave ship Jesus? They would tell you to come on board and take advantage of the privileges on that slave ship, whereby you can have your sins forgiven, and the good ship Jesus will take you to heaven. Now they don't need the good ship Jesus anymore. They can give you a spliff or two, right? And then they can tell you to turn on to social media, and then they can spew all of that garbage into your mind. And there's nothing you can do about it because you're already high. And the average person, I remember when you cross the street and you're looking straight up. Today, everybody's crossing the street and they're on their phone. Everyone is walking on the sidewalks and they're on their phone. Wherever, they're driving in their cars, they're on their phone. They're checking the social media. What is this? Why? Why are you so hooked? You're nothing but a slave. Because and what they're showing you, because sometimes I'm curious and I'm like, well, what are you looking at? And they're either playing video games or they're looking at, it's back in the day, we used to read comic books sometimes when we were children. You know, you draw the comics, whatever, the characters. Today, all that is on your phone, and people are using that. Listen, I've looked at this, I've analyzed it, and I'm seeing in 90% of all the video games, there is a negative spiritual influence. 90%. And I'm sure there's more. They have you in their back, in the palm of their hands to do anything they want with you. Why do you allow these things? That is my question. Why are you allowing strangers to dictate your behavior? Why are you allowing strangers to teach you about yourself? You see, and these are things that we have to avoid. So now that we know that we are the only ones, this Israelite nation, worldwide ministries, with the truth, and we know that the entire world has the lie. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's bad it's good for us because we know what to do with it. But it's bad if you allow them to take advantage over us. That's where we have to find the solution. And that's what we're trying to do today, to help you. That old colonial format was, I call it corporate Christianity. And as you know, it also included Judaism and Islam, because the Muslims sold us to the Christians, and the Khazars financed part of it. So you don't want anything. A child of slavery should not want to deal with those three philosophies. And to the back of those three philosophies, in a secret mode, was Freemasonry. So if you are engaged in Christianity, if you are engaged in Judaism, if you are engaged in Freemasonry, if you are engaged in Islam, your chances of being a new slave, being recolonized again, are very, very feasible, very strong. You do not want to do these things because you've been there already. You've seen what they can do to you. And I'm telling you, 400 years, you don't know who you are. You don't know your history. You don't know who your God is. You don't know what your culture. All you know is black and white. But yet, why do you know black and white? Because they're the ones that told you that you're black. Now, how did they do these things? Remember, brainwashing and indoctrination. Those are the two things that you have to remember. And why would any child of slavery then want to be associated with these, I call them satanic institutions? Yet, I will remember this, and my elder taught me this, and this is a very, very key point to remember. We have to give thanks to the KKK. I know you might not want me to say this, but I'll tell you. The KKK, when they were instituted, they came to keep you out of Christianity. They didn't want you serving their God. And so they did everything to kick your butt out They don't want you because they knew you had a different God. You didn't belong in Christianity. But what you do, you got offended. You call it racism. It's not racism. They are protecting their God. They are protecting their culture. Find your own God. Find your own culture. You have nothing to do with Christianity. And the KKK, that's their job. And they did an excellent job. I got to give thanks to them for doing that job. Because if you look like me, you don't want to be in the middle of a graveyard every Sunday. Why? Who the hell you're calling on? Notice I said hell. You put it together on your own. You don't want to do these things. So the new colonial format then places a lot of emphasis on brainwashing and indoctrination. This is the new system that we have to address. Just like the old one, it's still based on the same satanic agenda, but instead of having the truth, they are promoting the lie. And I cannot blame them for that because that's their thing. One of the things that they did, if you will notice this, the Hellboys today have painted what they call Jesus. Now, they painted him completely different from what he was. They have removed the God-given melanin from their Jesus and given you a different Jesus, right? And they also even went so far as to remove the God-given melanin from the 12 apostles, the 12 tribes of Israel. But I got a secret for you. Not only did they wipe Jesus clean of his melanin, do you know that God is unemployed? Did you know that? God is now unemployed. Why? Because Jesus, the Christian Jesus, went up to heaven and on SpaceX, and he now sits on the throne of God. The Christian Jesus. He went up to heaven on SpaceX. So what is God going to do? He can't do anything. But of course, all that's a big stinking lie. Because Jesus never went to heaven, number one. And no one can go there, number two, unless you came from there. So these are things that you have to know. But the point I'm making is the system is designed to get you trapped in the lie. And of course, most people that look like me, they fall for it. And they will try to disagree with everything that we say here today. They will try to argue with us. Rather than take this little nugget and investigate it for themselves. They will. And not only investigate it, but if there is, okay, if we give 10 points and you can agree with 3, that should be enough for you to rally around the truth. Let us come together and invest in each other and serve the same God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob. Forget the other things. We can work those out later. Because if you look at the other cultures, that's exactly what they do. I'm so proud to see that, you have the Palestinian people today rallying around their own, right, and against the war with the Khazars. And they're doing a great job in that endeavor. I even see some of the Khazars are against their own. They call their prime minister crime minister. Crime minister. Hey, that's on them. They know him better than I do, right? So, but my point is that rally needs to take place. We don't have to be out in the public. We could use the spirit. In other words, if you understand that we have the spirit of truth, get yourself immersed in that endeavor. And you then would find a way to connect with us so that we could be one family. That's all it is. Yes, families will fight, but they sit at the dinner table and eat a meal at the time, when the time is right. That's all it is. So it is not that you have to agree with everything. You have to agree with the central or the primary or the main precepts, because it takes time for you to learn and develop into the right person. So all of these ideas that we are putting forward today should help you to rethink what you're doing as a child of Jacob, to rethink if it applies to the stipulation that is written in the book of our forefathers, the Holy Scriptures, from Genesis to Revelation. Why did the Hellboys, the fallen Hellboys, not share the same lie with the Christian Jesus, with President Putin of Russia? Why did they not tell him? Because President Putin was the only one that put out the information concerning the people in the Bible all being black, as he put it. The only problem that he made, or that I didn't like, I should say, is the fact that it took him 10,000 years to see it when he had all of the information for 10,000 years. That's number one. And number two, he's going to worship a black Jesus now, which is stupid. And he's worshiping the black Jesus as a Christian, which is stupid again. What you want to do, Putin, if you're watching, is call us and let us help you to understand that this is a book written by Israelites, about Israelites, for Israelites. But you're still welcome to come into the family if you want to learn and become one with us and serve the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. I also think if we could find that same Christian method that they use to wipe the melanin from Jesus, can you just think about this for a moment? You know how rich we could be? We could take that same, I like to call it the Hellboy body wash, and wipe cars and trucks and make them brand new again. We can go from house to house and take all the old homes and paint them new, wipe that old stuff using the Hellboy body wash. Because the same body wash that they used to wipe Jesus, the melanin from him, and present him in a different format, we could use that and make your house look spectacular again. Make your vehicle look brand new again. Because trust me, if it could clean the Christian Jesus, it can clean anything. And of course, we don't have to charge the full price, but we can do that. You know what I'm saying? You just make sure you look nice. And I'm not touching any of the people. I'm just looking at, notice I said vehicles and houses, not individuals. I'm not messing with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He did what he did based on his wisdom and his understanding, and I appreciate that. But if you have an old car, then I could clean that and make it brand new for you using the Hellboy body wash. Yes, easy. And we can make a lot of cash if that's what you want to do. But the idea is to make everything look fresh and brand new again. In other words, we paint your house a different color. We wipe with the Hellboy body wash, and I'll paint the car a different color and make it look brand new, like a brand new car. Yeah, we could do that. So, unfortunately, the Jacobites, the children of slavery, they are trapped in this process of immaculate deception. And I say that because I can guarantee this. If you go into 10 Jacobite homes, you're going to see when you walk into that house, right, a picture on the wall with the Christian Jesus and his disciples. And he's not going to look like me. Chances are he's not going to look like you. Why? The Hellboy body wash has been used. And they're trapped in that endeavor. All I'm saying, it is time to think and to get out of the mess in which you find yourself. Because there is a lot more out there that you have to learn about yourself. We are the people chosen by the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He chose us to serve him, not to make ourselves be gods, although you can say we could be the gods to them. Moses was a god to Pharaoh, if you can, so on and so forth. But that's not our endeavor right now. We want to do what's right and to serve the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob to the best of our ability. We want the world to know that there is a different path, and we want them to see how they can follow into that path and to get to the right God. But that path is hidden. Do you know the way? Anyone knows the secret pathway to the Israelite nation, to the kingdom of God? That path is through the water. You can't get to the truth except you go through the water. But that's a whole different subject matter. So that water, and remember this, it's not as serious as you think. When we were in Egypt back in the day, how did we get out? Moses had to do his thing, obedience to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the waters parted, and we walked through. But that path was always there. We just didn't know about it. Why? Because it was covered with water. You see my point? And notice that water is a very powerful influence, because it's not only going to cleanse you, right? It will also protect you. But it will hide from you the things pertaining to truth if you're not supposed to know. There's a lot to think about. So one of the biggest problems then with the system as it is today, those that want to recolonize and to re-enslave us, if I can use that term, is that they use our book. They use our book. If they had done what they wanted to do with their own book, if they had written a book about themselves and their family, I would never bring up the subject. Never. But when you're using our book, then we have a right to stand up and defend our national integrity and to set the record straight. We will not just sit idly by and allow you, no matter who you are, to come and take our book from Genesis to Revelation, twist it, use your Hellboy's body wash, and paint everything different. No, we're going to promote the wisdom of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we don't care about the consequences thereafter. If you don't like it, see you. Bye. Keep moving. But don't use our book to lie. Or should I say, don't misuse our book to lie. Because it's going to fall on you and it will cost you severely. And that's the problem that they have done when they try to use, like if you want to use your Hellboy body wash, Donald Trump's there. Joe Biden. What's the name of the guy here? Trudeau? Yeah. Justin Trudeau. Putin. Use anything. Cleanse them if you want to. But why are you looking to us? Why are you trying to get our family, our brother Jesus, and trying to mess up his appearance? And you think that I'm going to sit idly by and allow that to happen? Never. Never. Not going to happen. Not under my watch. And because I am a defender of Israel. My name is Michael, and I carry a sword. Don't mess with us. Simple as that. Oh, by the way, this is my sword. Just show you to let you know. Yeah, that's my sword. The word of my Father. So, as hinted then earlier, we have to remember that, as I said, our 7th month is coming, and we want to be reunited. And the process of being reunited with our Father is called religion, right? Religion is not a philosophy. Others have invented philosophies because they cannot understand the concept of religion. We want to be reunited with our Father, or to strengthen that unity. And that's why we do what we do. This is why we will say there is only one religion. This is it. And religion is not, it's not even a noun. You can say it's a verb because it's a process. This is something that we do. We reunite. And in order to do that, we have to remove or have our sins cleansed and then be reconciled. And the God of Israel was so wise, he put that in place for us so that we can do this once a year. We can have this process taken care of. If you go to the book, I'll prove to you now, based on the scriptures again, on the testimony of Moses, why there's only one religion. So that the point I'm making, you don't have to be swayed by other people who are trying to brainwash you. They bringing up other philosophies. Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hebrew Israelites, call it whatever you want. None of these things are in our book. So if they're not in our book, then why are you using our book to promote them? It doesn't make any sense. If anyone can name one Christian in this book, I would be happy to pay you $100. I'd give you more, but that's all I can give you right now. $100 for one Christian. Okay? That's part A. Part B, and you have 2 minutes to do it. Part B is if you cannot name one Christian in 2 minutes, you have to pay me $500. Part C is I want my money cash in USD. Okay? So name one Christian in the Bible, right? You got 2 minutes. Now you got a minute and a half. And I will pay you $100. If you cannot, you pay.
Canadian or USD?
And that's not important. Maybe 100. Did I say dollars? I meant pesos. But anyway, no, I will give you what you deserve. Let's call it that. But if you cannot name one Christian, okay, take 5 minutes. I'll give you some more time. Do you owe me $500 USD? I could charge you British pounds, but I'm not going to be greedy today. The point I'm trying to make is if it's not there, or what did they say back in the day? If it doesn't fit, you have to quit. Simple. It doesn't fit, quit. There is no Hebrew Israelite in the Bible. Anyone know of any Hebrew Israelite in the Bible? No. Okay, fine. Do you know of any Muslim? Any Mohammedan? No. And obviously there's no Christian. Anyone practicing Judaism? You know of someone practicing Judaism in the Bible? Yeah. My point, Okay. So my point is, it's not there. Then leave it alone. Quit. Simple. Let us all meet and have a coffee. You pay, and we're good. You know, I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful to anyone. It's not there. But I'll tell you what. If you write your own book about your own family, I will buy a copy of it. Well, of course, I'm get the discount, but I'll buy a copy. Yeah, as simple as that. So there's only the one religion then, because if you go to, everybody knows about Deuteronomy 28, to keep it simple, right? And the Lord shall bring thee, this is the testimony of Moses, and Moses is testifying under oath. He said, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there you shall be sold to your enemy, for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So there are 4 things. The Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again by ship. How many people do you know came into Egypt again by ship? And by the way, this is not the old Egypt. This is the new Egypt. And the new Egypt is the United States of America. So there's only one family that came, right? And then the second point is, thou shalt see it no more again. What does it mean? Thou shalt see that land no more again. That land of Israel, our homeland. Anyone else? We know that there are people that moved in there. I was so happy in 1948 when they moved in. I was celebrating, right? Because that's not us. Number 3, there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. What's a bondman and bondwoman? A slave. And they were sold. How many people you know were sold in the new Egypt for slaves, right? And no man shall buy you. That's one of the most significant things. The God of Israel said, I am not giving up ownership to my royal family, don't matter how bad they are. That is great. That's a lot of respect and appreciation for terrible people like us. That means that he sees in us more than we see in ourselves. There is an opportunity then to be redeemed. I like that. Let us take advantage of that and move forward. So we are the only one that made that met all 4 components to that testimony from Moses. And like I said, he was under oath. If you read the book of Exodus 24, I'll read it for you quickly, verse 7 and 8. It says, and he took the book of the covenant. Those of you who are here regularly will know what I'm talking about. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. And they said, listen to it, all that the Lord hath said we will do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words. He was under oath. You said you would keep this covenant. he acknowledged that. He took the words back to our Father. You're under oath. I'm not saying this to justify our enslavement. I'm saying it to let you know that if they come at you again to enslave your minds, tell them to go back to hell. Simple. And the way you say that is to say, no, thank you. Be polite about it. Be polite. You know, I've got my own father. I've got my own instructions. I got my own family. I don't need yours. Yes, I may not have the cash that you have, but so what? You know, I see that guy, what is it called, Elon Musk? The guy's worth $1 trillion now. There's something weird about him, though. I don't know what it is, but it looks, you know, this thing with SpaceX that took up Jesus to heaven. Like, I don't get it. I really don't understand all these things. But you know what? He is doing what he's supposed to do, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of him for doing that because that is his mandate, and he is fulfilling his mandate. Now, what is yours? What is mine? We have to work together as a family to serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. If we do that, no one can touch us. I wish I had 2 more hours because there's so much more. You know, it is so significant. Remember we read about Moses taking the blood and sprinkling it on the people, right? Now, if the blood of animals can be so overpowering to not only consolidate that covenant, can you imagine the blood of the Lamb of righteousness, the Lamb of redemption, who is the Christ, right? That is what we're talking about. So why would you then settle for what these guys can offer? Our Father sent down his only begotten Son for our benefits. Why would you want to read something that came or get involved in something that came from the Vatican? Why? It's not from heaven. It's from the Vatican. That's where they molest little boys every Sunday. Did you not know that? Why would you want to get involved in something that came from, I don't know where the heck they came from. Well, Muhammad was in a cave and he got his experience from a demon and he did what he did. Why would you want to get involved with that? I don't understand what Farrakhan, what the heck he's doing. But he making his money, let him do his job. The only problem is, why is he brainwashing the rest of the people? And why would you fall for that if you were a child of Jacob? Why would you get involved with the Freemasons? There's nothing free about them for the people that look like us. Remember, they are trying to be like you. But they're not telling you that. So do not allow the enemy to brainwash you and enslave your mind, because that's what they will do if you give them the opportunity to do it. Forget about it. You don't have to turn on your computer and let it read to you. No, you read with your eyes. That's what your eyes are for. Make notes as you're reading. Right? Because you now have the ability to comprehend, to analyze, to agree or disagree with what you're looking at. So there's nothing more powerful, as we said before, than the truth. And this has to allow us, the truth is our cement. Because we in this Israelite nation, each one of us is a precious stone. So we need to have that cement to hold us together, because then we can become one. One house, right? Why do we want a house? Because we need to build a house for the spirit of truth, a spirit from the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He gave us the cement, which is the truth. He gave us the precious stones, which is each and every one of us. We didn't just show up here. We were called. When we are called out of the world, then we are separated and made holy. There is the difference. Holy is not H-O-L-E-Y. It's H-O-L-Y. Now, the other one is pronounced the same way, isn't it? But once you have holes everywhere, what is going to stay? Everything is going to fall through the cracks. But if you're holy, You can spell it W-H-O-L-Y as well. W-H-O-L-E-Y. I'm sorry. You can spell it like that because that has a holistic connotation. Holistic is comprehensive. Comprehensive means that it has to have a foundation of truth and righteousness, right, based on the service of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is our version of it. We don't care what the others say concerning such matters. But you have to have the decency. You have to have respect for self. You have to be able to look in the mirror and say, thank you, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob. You don't look in the mirror and say, damn, I look good. I mean, you can say that too, after you've given thanks to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Then you wouldn't say, damn, you would say, I do look good. So the battle for the mind is where we're at. But remember one thing. Remember Proverbs 3:31-32. It says, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. For the forward is abomination to the Lord, but the secret, his secret, is with the righteous. Who are the righteous? Israelites. So if notice it didn't say, it didn't give all the details. It said his secret with the righteous. I know some people that look like me can't keep secrets. But we know what is coming because we are close to our Father. And we have the inspiration accordingly, whether by dreams or what have you. But we have to know exactly what we are required to do and do it with a sense of pride and dignity.
Question, Elder Michael, do you think it's also embarrassment because our people for some reason just want power? A couple weeks ago was doing the Remember the 400 give back, and we're trying to tell, it was a gentleman that I was speaking to, I was trying to tell him, he was like, oh, what's Remember the 400? So I was trying to tell him, you know, the children of slavery and all that. Oh, no. I don't want to hear about that. That's not me. And I'm looking at him like, this is a black man. This is Jaden Finch. But they don't want to hear about it. I think it's the same thing in the States. They don't want to hear about it. Is it an embarrassment? Because they just want the power. So it's like, we don't want to hear any history. We don't want to see anything where we were suppressed because the mentality is already suppressed enough by the world. So they're taking on the Christianity because they think it comes with power. Do you think that's what it is?
Well, I tell you what it is. You know, there is a saying that he that forgets his past is most likely to repeat it, especially when that past is filled with errors like we have. So the concept then behind it is you're not just repeating what transpired, because yes, it's not good, but you're trying to learn from what transpired. You know, a lot of people, these are people that will tell you they're going back to Africa. You go back to Africa, how much did they buy you for when you came over here? They paid 50 cents for you, right? You go back to Africa and they ship you on the next set of slaves coming, it can be $5,000 for you. Now, so you don't want to go back there because, first of all, Africa is not our homeland. Our homeland is Jerusalem, the land of Israel back in the day. If you can call it Canaan, whatever you want. That's our homeland. We came to Africa to get away from the contention that we were experiencing back there. And that was part and parcel of the process of punishment, because from Africa we came to the New Egypt again as slaves. So we don't want, the whole idea is that you have to remember the 400, because if you don't remember, you will repeat it. And you have to learn from the 400 years of slavery. I did not know who my God is. I did not know my culture. I had no idea I was an Israelite. Because why? You see people on television, they don't look like me, and they do all kinds of perverted stuff. They have a big cube on their forehead. Did you watch Transformers, by the way? Did you see in the introduction of the first series? They're looking for the cube. When the cube is open, what is it? A cross, symbol of death. In other words, it's an instrument of the Hellboys. Why do you want to have these things on your system? and they're worshiping their God every Saturday. Then you have the other ones, the Solas, the Mohammedans. They're worshiping their God every Friday. And of course, the Christians are worshiping every Sunday. But they all share the same common denominator, which is the cube, which is the cross. Why would you want to be involved with that? It's better to learn about your past, even if it's painful, because you know exactly what you did wrong, and you'll be able to apologize and repent. And if you can do that at the appointed time, you could be reconciled with your Father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who created the heavens and the earth. There's nothing wrong with looking back and seeing the mistakes that were made. But it is each one to do whatever he wants to do or she wants to do with it. The key here is that we are God's peculiar family. And if you go to Romans 11, chapter 11, verse 1 and 2, the Apostle Paul testified to that. Or sorry, the Apostle, Minister Paul testified to that. He says, I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. God hath not cast away his people which he foreknew. And he goes on. My point here is they, meaning the hell boys, can say whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. They cannot influence the mindset of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob when it comes to his royal family, which is our Israelite nation. We are God's chosen remnant. And there is nothing that anyone can do to change that dynamic. That's a highly spiritual dynamic, something that should be cherished, not for the moment of looking good, but taken full advantage of from the perspective of serving the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to our ability. He said, God has not cast away his people. So then why are we worried? Psalm 47, as 147 says, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation. None of the other nations got that, the laws, statutes, and judgments of the God of Israel. And as for his judgments, they have not even known them. Praise ye the Lord. So anyone claiming to be a replacement for us or trying to indoctrinate our mindset or trying to brainwash us would be a liar. Would be a liar, and we need to tell them to go back to hell, because Christianity is demonic, Islam is demonic, Judaism is demonic, and Freemasonry is demonic. We can prove that from the scriptures, because none of them are mentioned, as I said before, in this book from Genesis to Revelation. We should not, our children of slavery, Jacobites, we should not want to have anything to do with them. And you know, there is so much. And of course, we have the situation with false teachers in Colossians chapter 2, verse 8. It says, beware, lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. They're teaching you the traditions of men, not God. They're teaching you philosophy, not the doctrine of truth. They're teaching you the rudiments of the world, anything to do with the physical vanity of the world, because it's all about you, not the one that you serve. We cannot fall for that. We've been there, we've done that, we've suffered the consequences. We should not want anything to do with that. I wish I had a lot more time, because this is such a deep subject. It takes more than an hour to get into and to explain all the things that I would like to explain. However, my brother Prince Andel is coming, and he is going to take it to a whole new level, a level that I could only think about, furthermore investigate. And to that I say peace.
Peace. So now, I asked earlier, I said that Elder Michael talked about the Hellboy's body wash. And we're trying to figure out what the pricing is on this Hellboy body wash, because we can probably make some dollars on that. We can probably make some dollars on that. Yeah. So there is a guy, a person online named Sammy Barak, who commented during Elder Michael's lesson and said, this is the kind of teachings that we need. This is the kind of teachings, not this Sunday school stuff or the stuff they teach you on Sundays. This is the kind of teachings you need. Teachings of substance, getting down to the truth. And then there's another person who commented online and says, where could I find you guys? Where are you located? Are you located in Canada? So I'll say to anyone that's new to the channel, looking at us for the first time, whether you're seeing us today as this live stream or in the future, in the description of this video, there is a link. There's a couple links. One, it's a form that you fill out if you want to learn more from this Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. And the other is our website. And on our website, you could find all the locations of where we are that do what we do. But hey, guess what? Here's what I was thinking. To really add to what Elder Michael said, I think I want to go to a story to remind you and I how it was like once upon a time. And when I say you and I want to be really specific for a second, because there are new people watching this, and they may see a 7 branch behind us, and will be thinking, are these guys converted to Judaism? Are they Israelis? Are they Christians with a Jewish flair? And there's some of you who look like me. And you may be in America, you may be in the Caribbean, you may be from my home country, Trinidad, you may be from Jamaica, you may be from St. Vincent, St. Lucia, you may be from all these places in the Caribbean islands. We are here to remind you that we are the true children of Israel. Elder Michael, yeah, you can woo for that. Go ahead. Let me don't stop your wooing. Elder Michael went into his first half, and he did a fantastic job in showing the separation between us and them. And I need you to really focus upon that. But I want to take us back to once upon a time, where we were and how we were. So those of you who are following with your Bibles, go to 1 Kings chapter 10. And I'm going to see if I can do this in record-breaking time. I've got 60 minutes with you, and 60 minutes sometimes is like 60 seconds. But if used effectively, I think I can, Tiana, I think I can probably hit some of those points I need. All right? So here it is. Verse 1 says, and when the queen of Sheba, I'm going to pause there and say it a different way. When the queen of a place called Sheba, when the queen of a place that was rich in gold, when the queen of a place that was rich in spices, when a queen of a place that was rich in precious stones, when the queen of a place that was very influential. You know, you and I want to go to Buckingham Palace and see the queen. That's what you and I do now. We want to go see the queen in Buckingham Palace. Once upon a time, queens came to see us. Once upon a time, queens came to see us. And not just queens. Queens that was from a place of gold, of spices, of precious stones, of influence. Because some people think Queen of Sheba is a name. Say it like the Queen of Sheba, the Queen of Sheba. Like it's a name. It's the queen of a place that was called Sheba. You understand? She heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of not Jesus, but the name of our God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. She came to prove him with some hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train. So I told you, a queen from a place called Sheba, a queen from a place that was rich of gold, a queen from a place that was rich of precious stones, a queen that was from a place rich of spices. Okay? She came with a train with camels that bear spices and very much gold and precious stones. And she was come to Solomon. She communed with him with all that was in her heart. Queen of influence came to see us. And I'm going to keep saying the us because I need you to understand that we're not talking about a different people when we talk about King Solomon. We're talking about our own bloodline. We're talking about our own people, our own forefathers. So, once upon a time, how were we? Let's keep reading. And Solomon told her all the questions. There was not anything hid from the king which she told her not. And when the queen of a place called Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom and the house that he had built. Pop quiz, what house are we talking about? Yeah, I got to hear you louder. The people online got to hear you. The temple of what? The temple of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. When she saw the house that he had built and the meat of his table, once upon a time, I want to take you guys back to once upon a time who we were. And then I'm going to get to what we have become. Once upon a time, Uncle Lenroy says, when you look at his table, King Solomon's table, we're talking about olives and figs. We're talking about lamb. We're talking about wine freshly squeezed from the grape. We're not talking about any pigs. We're not talking about any lobsters. We're not talking about any crabs. We're not talking about any bottom dwellers. All clean food for the Israelites. Let me go through this. And the meat of his table and the sitting of his servants. Nathaniel, follow me for a second, my man. Follow me for a second. She saw the meat on his table, the prosperity, the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel. When we talk about apparel, some of you say that you're woke. I'm talking to you right now. Don't click away because I'm talking to you. You talk about royal apparel. Some of you grabbed on to the yellow. You grabbed on to the black. You grabbed on to the green. And you wrap it around yourself. But when we talk about once upon a time, who we were, we're talking about deep purple. We're talking about white linen glow. When the sun hit it, it glows white. We're talking about scarlet red and blue. The colors, the colors that the enemy, the foreigners saw that gave us our flex and our strength. They said, I want to take that and I want to use it to see if I can get the same power and the same beauty that I see with Solomon and his men, who were Israelites. And his cupbearers and his ascent by which he went unto the house of the Lord. I'm going to go easy with this. He went unto the house of the Lord. Who is the Lord? He didn't go to the house of Shango. He did not go to the house of Shango. He did not go to the house of his ancestors who have passed away. He did not go to the house of Allah. Go easy, go easy. He did not go to what the Vatican looks like today. He did not go to the house of the serpent. He did not go to any of these places, but he went into the house of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why is Elder Andel telling you this? It's because when you see a queen from a place called Sheba coming, It is because we were doing the right things, serving the right God. Do you following? And his accent by which he went unto the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit in her. I wonder how Sheba was. I'm talking to place. How magnificent it must have been. With all that gold and precious stones, with all those spices. How were her men in Sheba arrayed? A place of prosperity and influence. Think about how magnificent Sheba, the place, was. For her to say, after I've seen what these Israelites are and do and their house, I got nothing compares to that. You should know how magnificent the blessing was for our people. You should know that by comparison. And she said to the king, it is a true report that I heard in mine own land of thy acts and thy wisdom. You want to talk about being independent? You want to talk about having influence? You want to talk about being world leaders? Here's a great example of how it used to be once upon a time. Queen of Sheba wasn't the only one that was an ambassador from her country to come visit us. All the kings of the earth in the time of King Solomon came to see Solomon and the Israelites in Jerusalem. And they all brought gifts. They didn't come empty-handed. Once upon a time. Let's keep going through. Verse 7 says, howbeit I believe not the words which I came, until I came, and mine eyes had seen it, and behold, the half was not told to me. Thy wisdom and thy prosperity exceeded the fame which I heard. Happy are thy men, happy are those thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and hear thy wisdom. Blessed be thy God. I'll rewind that. Blessed be the Lord thy God, Solomon. Not my God and the gods of the nations. I humble myself now, and I say, blessed be your God. Things have changed so much. This was once upon a time. Today we hold on to their gods. We hold on tight to their gods. And we go up on stages and we run up and down promoting their gods. And everyone is catching some spirit. As Elder Michael says, H-O-L-E-Y. They're catching that Holy Spirit. Holes everywhere. And here we are, the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministry. Sammy, thank you for that comment, because here we are at the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries beating this. Waking the world up that they may know that the God who created the heavens and the earth, the God who stretched out everything, is alive and well. And he still has a people that remembers him and represents him, no matter if you think we're two people. See, when God said to Gideon, take of you people to go to war, and he had a multitude, God said, wait a minute, Gideon, it's too much. And it wasn't as much as the enemies had, by the way. And then he cut it down. And God says, wait a minute, Gideon, it is too much. And then he took those who was lapping the water, just 300. And Gideon and the men were probably thinking, they're like grasshoppers that's attacking us. We got 300 men. Because God, through time, has always showed his power by few, so that the few will know that God worketh with them. So when you look at the billions of people on this planet holding up a crucifix or going to the mosque surrounding the cube, and you only have 10 of us, do not be dismayed, because with the 10, we will chase billions. I mean that. This is not even, let me take a step back. This is not a speech. This is not a speech. I mean that. Do not look at the lack of physical numbers to validate what we do. Because historically, the God that we serve uses a few to break things down. You are the few. Sometimes what we say that it means step up. Step up to your calling if you are the few. I got so many things to go over today, so I got to make sure I kind of keep pace. She said, "Blessed be the Lord thy God, which delighteth in thee to set thee on the throne of Israel, because the Lord loved Israel forever. Therefore made he king to do judgment and justice. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold." All right, you know what? I like pop quizzes. I like the interaction. So if we talk about modern day equivalent, because sometimes you hear stuff like, what did I say? 120 talents of gold. Young people are like, what does that mean? Like, a lot of you out there is like, what does that mean? So if you take the talents, 120 talents of gold, Tiana, and you bring it to modern day equivalent, what do you think that would be worth based on the price of gold today? Anyone? Throw out a number. Yeah, Nathaniel. How much grams is Joab. So you see how I skipped over you. Joab. 1 billion?
One talent is 50 kilograms.
How much is the 100? Huh?
46 million.
Okay, you got 46 million. All right?
46 million. 100 is 46 million.
Okay, that's what you guys got?
46 million kilograms.
So here's what I got. Here's what I got in terms of today's value. And it's debatable, but I'm just throwing this out to you based on the calculation. They take talents and they convert it into kilograms or pounds or whatever they do. I got 244.8 million. Someone got that?
At that value back in the day.
Correct. So let's take modern day equivalent. We're talking about almost $300 million. USD. Thank you. No, guys. Let's walk through this. And she gave the king 300 million USD in gold, and of spices very great, and precious stones. There came no more such abundance of spices as these which the queen of the place called Sheba gave to King Solomon. And the navy also of Hiram, that brought gold from Ophir, brought in from Ophir great plenty of almug trees and precious stones. And the king made of the almug trees pillars for the house of the Lord. When you talk about exotic wood, you're talking things like sandalwood and ebony wood, things that are rare. People don't buy those things today. It's out of reach, and it's scarce. But you take something as rare as that kind of wood, and you build an entire house for the God of Israel. And the king made of the almug trees pillars for the house of the Lord, and for the king's house harps and psalteries for singers. There came no such almug trees, nor were seen unto this day. And King Solomon gave unto the queen of Sheba all her desire, whatsoever she asked, beside that which Solomon gave her of his royal bounty. So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon 1 year was 666 talents of gold. So that's, to some of you wondering, that's 666. That's that's 666. Ooh. All right, 666 talents of gold. Throw me a number. This came by ear. Throw me a number. Don't calculate. Just throw it to me.
1 billion.
1 billion. Someone else.
I say a trillion.
You say a trillion. So from my own little work, and again, this is not written in stone, and this is just educational and fun and entertainment. 1.36 billion per year. For modern day equivalents. 1.36 billion per year. Modern day equivalent. Listen, guys. Once upon a time, people, you ever watch any of those old movies on kingdoms? And a king that rules, tribute has to be sent to that king on a yearly basis. Whether it is grains, whether it is fabric, whether it is crops, whether it's gold, rubies, you bet all the neighboring villages, towns, and cities and countries, you send yearly your tribute. We didn't send anything out. At this time, everything was coming in. Why? What was the secret ingredient? Those of you online and those of you here. What was that secret ingredient? The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. When he blesses, it's without measure. Like when he blesses and he's happy with his people doing what they need to do, it is without measure. I'm going to read a couple more of this because I'm already halfway through. I think I'm at 15. Beside that, he had of the merchantmen and of the traffic of spice of merchants and all the kings of Arabia and all the governors of the country. And King Solomon made 200 targets of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went to one target. So, according to modern day equivalent, one target was about $408,000. One target. We can keep going through this, and you will be saying, all you would be saying is wow, wow, and wow. Once upon a time, you and I were living like this. Once upon a time, you and I were living like this. So what happened, Elder Andel? How do we go from there? I'm going to have some fun with this one. I'm going to have a lot of fun with this one, Danielle. How do we get from billions and everyone around the world showing us respect? How do we go from leading countries, cities? How did we go from all of that to beating drums and beating spirits into people? How did we go from that to beating the Rada and trying to beat spirits? And sorry, let me be clear. We're not beating holy spirits into people. How do we go from what I just read to beating spirits, dead ancestors, into people? In fact, they call those who catch the spirit horses, because the spirit needs to ride somebody, needs a body to ride in. How do we go from the man going up to the house of God, sitting in lavish feasts, having the world envy who we are, to beating drums in a dark night, beating spirits into someone. And you just can't. We did an education day last week. And we looked at one of our Caribbean islands, Haiti. And we looked at how their culture surrounds voodoo. But we're not picking on Haiti. Because all across the world where my people are, they do some form of voodoo. They do some form of divination. They do some form of worshiping the dead. Those radas, some of those you got to beat with your bare hands. I'm going somewhere with this, so listen keenly. Some of those you got to beat with sticks. And why do they beat those drums? There was a time that we had young men in this nation, and they were trying to do something in terms of bonding, and they were coming together to beat these drums. There is a reason for things that are done in spiritual realms. Those weren't just musical instruments. They are tools of divination. So Taya, check this out. Some of those drums can't be beaten until they have been consecrated. How did we go from praising the God of Israel to now consecrating drums? And consecrating them, check this out. Some of them, you have to put the skin on top of the drum, right? You got to cover the drum. Some of those guys would tap the blood of a voodoo priestess, I'll say that, or a voodoo priest, or a senior member of the order, let's call it that, and they would, and Tamar helped me say this word, coagulate that blood. They would put that blood around the rim of the drum, true story, and then they will cover the drum and seal it, because they believe that if I have that virtue, the drum will be able to communicate more effectively to that world. Check this out. Sometimes, if they want to get, we call it duppies or jumbies. For you listening that may not know duppies and jumbies, let's call it spirits or ghosts or whatever, okay? But all of their ancestors. For them to call, let's say, a senior member of the order who passed on, so they want to bring in a bigger spirit, they actually go to the gravesite. And they will find an ex-voodoo priest or senior member of that org and use piece of the skin to wrap that drum with and start to beat that drum and bring on board the ancestors. How do we go from there, Jennifer? How do we go from Solomon and red, white, blue, and purple and starting to beating demons and ancestors into ourselves? And we did this, just so we're very clear who are listening, we did this for hundreds of years. We didn't just do this when we came into the Americas. We did this when Elijah said, I'm the only one. I am the only one God of Israel that serves you. Because what was happening? You had 850 prophets of Baal and the groves. What do you think they were doing? Beating that drum and beating spirits into themselves and cutting themselves with swords and lancets and bleeding out and wailing all night. How did we go from there, from singing songs to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, with the singers and instrument players that our father David had set up, to now singing to bring some of our dead ancestors into our chalk circles to talk to us? And why do you think they did all of these things, people? Someone says God wasn't listening to them. Why do you think, come on, why do you think they did all these things? There must have been a reason. Issachar, why do you think? And you online, put it in the chat. Why do you think they did all of these things?
I would say they wanted to be like the other nations.
Okay? Issachar said they wanted to be like the other nations. Jennifer?
Maybe instant gratification. Like they just wanted results.
They wanted results. Okay? You know what they say? They say they do this for guidance, for protection, for healing, and for blessings. I'll say it again. They say they take the chicken or the goat. They go into dark rooms. They beat their consecrated drums, like I told you. The drummer himself has to go through some initiation. You just don't drum with those things. He has to fast. He has to lie in a room and wait till the ancestors give him the okay so he can do what he needs to do. He has to make sacrifices. Why would you think you go into a room at night with a crucifix on the wall, or the voodoo priest has a crucifix in his hands? Yes, a crucifix, ladies and gentlemen. And why you think he is doing these things? Why does he have 3 cigarettes in his mouth? Spinning the 3 cigarettes around. So you're thinking, wow, so impressive. He's spinning 3 cigarettes around, then he eats it and swallows it. And you're like, this is what I signed up for. My father used to come down in a pillar of fire, a pillar of smoke. But you know what? This guy eating 3 cigarettes and swallowing it, this is what I signed up for. You know what Elder used to say? You're so powerful. Yet the Lotto Max is about 80 million. And not one of these jokers can give us the numbers. No, honestly, not one of these jokers. You're cutting through opening portals. Spirits are coming. You're at crossroads. You got your head wrapped. All the men got their head wrapped. You're cutting goats. You're cutting chicken. You got the crucifix. You've got all the Roman Catholic figurines, by the way, because it's not an effective ritual without that. It's not an effective ritual without that. And you can research this all you want. Why did we go from what we had, my people, to that for thousands of years, not 100, thousands of years, till the God of Israel said, you know what? I'm done. 1 Kings 10, I believe 6-9 says, but if you shall at all turn from following me, here it is, you and your children, and will not keep my commandments and my statutes, which I have set before you, but go and serve other gods. Yes, there are more than one God. But go and serve other gods and worship them. Then will I cut off Israel out of the land which I gave them, and this house which I have hallowed for my name will I cast out of my sight, and Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people. I may have said the wrong thing, but it's okay. And at this house, which is high, everyone that passeth by shall be astonished and shall hiss. And they shall say, why hath the Lord done thus unto this land and to this house? Because you're beating the drum, trying to beat ancestors into themselves. And then you in this land, when you realize that Christianity's got some flaws, you say that you're now woke and you're cultural. So you look back to Africa. The first thing you pick up from Africa is throwing bones on the ground, talking to ancestors, having little shrines in your home. This is cyclical. The dog vomits, and the dog eats their own vomit over and over again. And they shall answer, verse 9, because they forsook the Lord their God, who brought forth their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and have taken hold upon other gods, and have worshipped them, and served them. Therefore hath the Lord brought upon them all this evil. It's not because people, and we have said this 1,000,000 times, it's not because people were stronger or smarter than we were. Because I just read to you the millions and millions and millions and millions of value of gold and wealth. Solomon had a throne made of ivory. Try getting ivory right now. And even if you can get it on the black market, see what it's going to cost you for maybe a piece of ivory this much. His throne was made of ivory. Even to fashion a... Don't know if you guys do any carvings or whatnot. But if you try to do workmanship with ivory, it takes a special talent for that. Just so you know, that alone is a special craft. To get a throne made of all ivory, if you had to price that out today, it's in the millions of dollars. The weight alone of that throne, all ivory and then gold trimmings on that. There was no vessel in Solomon's house excepting gold. Everyone drank out of pure gold. And then we move from that to someone who looks like me drinking rum in a dark place with my head wrapped, and I'm blowing rum on someone, and I look at the next person beside me, and all I see is their eyes up in the air, and the ancestors is running through them. The dead is running through them. Someone who died is running through them. What is someone in the grave going to teach you? But they're going to be happy like my elder used to teach us. They're going to be happy to catch a little bit of food, some alcohol. They're happy to get a little bit of cigarettes in their mouth, get a quick smoke. It's been a while. But it's true. You laugh, but it is true. That's what they're happy. It's a sad, sad story about our people. Deuteronomy 28, the chapter talks about if we obey God, that the blessings will be upon us. Deuteronomy chapter 28 says if we don't obey our God, guess what? All the curses that's written in the book shall overtake you until you are consumed. Listen, those of you who are new, when Elder Michael is talking about the influence of those who are foreign and how they have not only in times past put us in chains and shackles and brought us in the belly of ships and they sold us as slaves in America, that same program is being done, but you just don't see the physical chains and the shackles. The same system they're using today on you. And you follow. You don't just follow, you become even more hardcore than they are. This is not the times of our fathers. I mentioned this earlier today. And let me speak to it a little bit more. In the days of Moses, those who were there, they didn't have what you and I have. And you're going to say, whoa, wait a minute. What now? Follow me for a second. In the days of Samuel, those who were there with Samuel did not have what you and I have. I'm getting somewhere. Those in the days of, here's a good example actually. Those in the days of Josiah who was made a king did not have what you and I have. Because you remember that in the days of Josiah, they did not do the things that you and I know today until they found a scroll. And then they remembered when he read, like, oh my God, this is why we are in this position, because we are not doing according to what this scroll has. Uncle Lenroy, Nathaniel, Patricia, we cannot compare ourselves to those of our fathers before us. This is a different time. When Lazarus and the rich man had their discussion, the conversation and the solution to Lazarus was they have Moses and the prophets. Elder Michael says he stands up for the children of Israel with a sword in his hand. And he raised up the Holy Bible to tell you that's his sword. Our fathers did not have the Bible. We've got the benefit of reading every single detail of what was created and how it ends. They did not have this. It is this generation of the 1619 Post that have this in our hands. It is this generation that have our elder Shadrach. They did not have that. And I know some of you are saying, oh, what do you mean by this? Well, become part of the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries and you'll witness it yourself. It's hard for me to tell you who are online about what we actually have here at the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. But I'll tell you this. The things that our fathers had forgotten and left, the things that have missed and they have been absent-minded of, the things that they did not have the pleasure and privilege of knowing and attending to, the services of God. All of these things, our elder has brought that back to us in this generation. This generation, you cannot go back to find out. It is very difficult for me to say this to you, but you cannot go back and find this exact process. You can't. This is a very unique time in the history of mankind. These are not the beginning days. These are what's called the last days. It's not the beginning of days. These are what we call the last days. You know, when Elder Michael talked about people, there's people in Asia, there's the U.S., and others kind of taking advantage of us. You know, I heard a story quite recently about Jamaica. And this is not new to Jamaica. So follow me for a second. I heard a story about Jamaica. And if you go to Jamaica, this is a story I heard. I know we got people who are Jamaicans here, so you may agree or disagree. You go to the shops in Jamaica, you have people like Auntie Pansies, like Auntie Sophie's. You have people like, who's Jamaican here? Elder Elvis, right? Elder Freddie. They are the people you go to, you talk to. They'll tell you what you got to buy, where it is, and they walk you through the details of what you're looking to purchase. But when you get to the counter to actually take your money and pay, you wouldn't find an Elder Freddie. You wouldn't find a Auntie Pansy. You would find a Chinese person or an Indian, okay? And they do not allow you to do the financial transaction. A, they don't trust you. Seriously, A, they don't trust you. But they are the ones doing the financial transactions. I go to the beauty supply store. I'm in Toronto. I go to the beauty supply store. I'm looking for shaving cream or something. The little girls with the aprons run around. Okay, here, sir, this one's good. This one you can use. The Jacobite girl, right? The black girls, or the black men, but it's usually girls in that store. They run around and here, sir, this one, I heard good reviews on this one, this one, this one. Okay, are you good now? Is everything good? Yes. They bring it to the counter for me, and I do like this, and I look through the glass. It's a Chinese man or Chinese woman. And then you start to talk about, what is actually happening. You go to Jamaica, there are certain beaches that the locals could have went there and eat a mango casually, cut a coconut open, or have some steamed fish. Guess what? You got to ask permission for some of these beaches, or you got to pay a toll because the Chinese own the beaches. Jamaica, tourism, number one. Among the islands, tourism was their revenue maker. The Chinese are owning the resorts and the hotels. And guess what? Hold on, and don't kill me. Guess what? And the money that is being made goes back to China. It doesn't get circled in Jamaica. How did we get there? Jamaica owns billions of dollars to the Chinese government. Do you know when you owe somebody money, you got to pay it back and you got to pay interest. But if you default on that loan, they take the collateral. Jamaica is being auctioned off currently. Just so you know, it's being auctioned off. And it is sad to see that the locals of our places are there, but those of foreign power and influence have put their claws in and they're mining. I mean, they go in for bauxite in Jamaica and they're just excavating that, and they're making millions to billions of dollars, and the locals don't see it. You know what the locals own? The little side cook shop. All right? The little stand you go for a little guava. The push carts. Okay? and again, this is not just in Jamaica. This is all across the places that we have been enslaved.
In Guyana now with oil.
Elder says in Guyana with oil. This is how this is happening and where we are. And the only thing you and I have to say to ourselves is, what then is the solution? What then is the solution? Because if this continues, our people will have nothing. And I mean nothing. Nothing, nothing. All the big corporations in the Caribbean, banks, all the big construction companies, building highways, are all owned by Chinese or Indians. The locals ain't got nothing on that.
And they bring their people in too.
Thank you. Thank you. I was going there. Thank you very much. Jennifer says, not only do they have the controlling power, they're starting to bring their own people in. And they are. Yes. Germans?
Yep, lots of Germans are going into, so they're like the Khazars, right?
Oh, wow. So, okay, you guys heard that. Germans are coming in and taking over Trinidad. I'm not saying anything here that you can't find if you do some research. And you don't have to even do hard research. I'm talking light work here. Light work. You will see the places that we have been enslaved. And yes, we call these places our own, but they really aren't our own either. Before we got to Jamaica, they had Indians who they had enslaved, or they were natives, but they made them slaves. But they weren't, to be honest, they couldn't carry the pressure. They're not people that could have carried the pressure. So they realized that there's sugar that could be harvested from Jamaica. So they brought in our people through the transatlantic slave trade, and we worked on the sugar plantation. And Jamaica was one of the major importers of sugar. But it was us who were in the fields cutting those sugar canes down. That place was not our home. We're not indigenous to Jamaica or Trinidad or St. Lucia or Grenada. We're not indigenous to those places. We were brought there in chains and shackles because we disobeyed our God. Pure and simple. We disobeyed the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. We stopped keeping the new moons. We traded in the Sabbath day. We stopped keeping the Feast of Passover or the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We traded that all in so we can light a candle for our ancestors who are dead. And we made our body as horses so they can ride in us and ask us for rice and a piece of goat or a piece of pig's flesh. And then when you see where they're drinking the blood and you wonder how is this blood so tasty to them, it is these familiar spirits. We traded in the Feast of Tabernacles for this. We traded in all the holy days and all the songs to the God of Israel. We traded in for beating the rada and singing so Shango can make his presence. And then what we do is, Zakar, we put a fire, a circle of fire on the floor as we beat the drum, because Shango was the god of thunder and lightning and fire. And we pass our children through the fire. Whap! We traded all that in, and current state, Jesse, here's where we are. We're in the land of our captivity. Those of you who came on to hear this message, and those of you who will hear this message even after it's been recorded, whether you're hearing it tomorrow or hearing it years from now, the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, we are not Christians. You see me in a suit, and some of you are going to say, I'm hearing what the pastor is saying. I am not a pastor. There are no deacons here. There are no bishops here. There are no rabbis here. There are no, what is the Muslim one? Imams here. We are Israelites. I am a child of the prophets. In my blood speaks to Isaiah. In my blood speaks to Jeremiah. You understand? In my blood speaks to Habakkuk. Listen to that name, Habakkuk. You understand? Hosea. In my blood speaks to Ezekiel. Do you understand? I go all the way back. What you know about Padanaram? What you know about Peniel? What you know about Basra? What you know about Hebron and Gibeah? I go all the way back. So when you see this Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, and I was speaking to a young man who recently started to study with us, and I said to the young man, I said, let me tell you something. You see a lot of these keyboard warriors out there, and a lot of these street preachers out there. A lot of these guys came into knowing their Israel last week. And they get a t-shirt with a logo and they go out and they go live streaming on YouTube. My elder Shadrach have been doing this since the 80s. We're getting into our 40th year next year. So all the questions that you, in your 2 weeks of now learning, we have had 40 years to go through them. Put some respect to that. Know that whatever question you have that you're about to bring, we had 40 years of going through those questions. So if you truly want to learn, listen to the teachings that come from my elder Shadrach. Listen to the teachings that comes from this Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. We are not the Johnny-come-latelys. We didn't wake up because we saw a YouTube video yesterday and now we think we are the children of God, and now we're going to go on street corners and tell every white person that they're a demon and they should kiss our shoes. I seen a Hebrew Israelite online last night. And they're at the street corner with it's a brand new group with a brand new logo. And they are on the street corners, and they got the 4 strings attached to them like the Khazars in all black have. And they're debating with, it says, bald Christian woman gets owned, or something like that as a thumbnail. And the Christian lady says, well, I'm a Christian. And the guy says, well, stop, hold on. We're Christians too. In fact, we were first called Christians. And I'm like, oh man. Thank God for Elder Shadrach. We are not Hebrew Israelites, in case you also get that mistaken. There is nobody in the Bible. Elder Michael put out a challenge, $100 Canadian for 500 USD. Okay, you know what? I'll do 100 Canadian for 500 USD. If you can take a year or 2 years for this one. I'm not going to give you 2 minutes. You can take your time. Find me someone in the Bible that says, I am a Hebrew Israelite. So I put a challenge out. Elder Michael did his challenge, correct? I put mine out. Find me anyone from Genesis to Revelations that those 2 words are together that says, behold, I am a Hebrew Israelite. And I'll give you the $100 Canadian. Oh, sorry. Maybe I should say this. Find it in the 1611 King James Version. Because I know some of these Hebrew Israelites are rewriting the book and putting Yahweh and Elohim and all these things, okay? So find it in the 1611 KJV. If you see someone saying, behold, I am a Hebrew Israelite, here I am, I'll give you the $100 Canadian. You've got.
I'm a Hebrew Israelite.
You got to find it in the Bible. You got to find someone in the Bible that says that. I'll give you the 100 Canadian. I'll give you 2, 3, 4 years to find it. Yeah, I'll give you a lifetime. I'll give you a lifetime. All right? We are Israelites in this nation. Simple, plain, pure. And your favorite person, Paul says, I am an Israelite. Yeah, you guys know it's poetic. Your favorite person, Paul, he says he's an Israelite. And to the Israelite is given the covenant, the glory, the giving of the law, the services of God. In fact, a guy like me is of the seed of Abraham. Wait, hold on. A guy like me is of the seed of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob, whom he surnamed Israel, of whom concerning the flesh Christ came. It's a guy like me. So if you don't understand this, I urge you, as the worship people get ready, I urge you to take a pause if this is your first time coming across this. And if you are part of those people who were enslaved, you got to know that the Bible is our history book. You got to know that. Don't let anyone else fool you. The Bible is our history book. All of the people within the pages of the Bible were our forefathers and mothers, our aunties and uncles, our nephews and nieces. It's us. And we have done terrible things to our God, the God of Israel. And it's time that a guy like me and my brothers and sisters who come up here on a Saturday or whenever you see them, and we basically just take the baton and the flag from our elder. And we basically tell you, hey, there's no greater thing than to serve the God of our forefathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Because if you stand up for God, he stands up for you. Amen? Amen? All right. Peace and thank you. And let's have some songs.